What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. Now, I don't know if you guys can tell because, you're only getting a little glimpse of the room, but the room is feeling a lot smaller tonight because there are two giant elephants in the room here with me. Number one being the fact that in real time, while I'm recording this, it's currently Tuesday, July 29th at 7:49 p.m. And while I am recording this, the Love Island Season 6 cast is currently crashing out over Kenny and JaNa breaking up on Instagram. Like, literally, it is just story after comment, after this, after that. There is so much happening, and I was already planning on talking about Kenny and JaNa's breakup later in the show anyway, and then shit hit the fan. JaNa posted her statement like 2 hours ago, and then Kenny posted his bullshit statement, and then JaNa posted another statement, then Leah, and now Liv is getting involved, and Liv's story was the last thing I saw, and I was like, all right, I'm leaving it at Liv for now, which, mind you, Liv is probably the scariest person in that cast. Like, love her dearly, but like she will go to bat for those girls. Like, more than anything, Liv is a girl's girl. I would be terrified if I was Kenny knowing that Liv was coming after me. But that being said, I have the story later in the episode, so that way I can let anything else kind of happen over the next hour and change while I yap with you guys. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the episode. You won't know. It's going to be, a quick little jump, but I'm going to check Instagram, see if anything's going on. My friend Delaney is like live updating me as things are happening. So I'll check my phone, see if anything has gone on and like anything else has come out. And then we will, give you guys the whole rundown of what is happening. You were getting breaking news here at Too Pop to Handle this week. That being said, the second elephant in the room is the fact that I have officially seen Freakier Friday. And I know what you're thinking. Andrew, the movie comes out August 8th. You just told us it is currently July 29th. What do you mean you have seen Freakier Friday? And I told you guys last week that I was going to have insane Freakier Friday news by the time that I recorded this week. And I am so excited to tell you guys that Disney invited me to an early screening of Freakier Friday at their Disney New York offices last night, right here in New York. It was incredible. Last week when I was recording, actually, it was the LA premiere. And I was getting so many people all week long, like leading up to it, being like, are you going? Did you get invited? Did you get invited? And I knew I was going to the New York premiere, but it wasn't like a public event, really. Like, it wasn't like out in, it wasn't like being publicized like other events, like the Mexico City one or the LA one or the London one later this week. So I was like, I don't know if I can like talk about this event because it's not public facing. Like, even the red carpet, which were purple and green carpet, I guess, which we will get into in just a second, like that was inside. Like, there was no way that like anybody who wasn't invited to this could get to it or even access it. So I was like, I can't really say if I'm going, but I was like, there is something happening. I just cannot say what. And yes, Disney invited me, little old me, to Pop to Handle to the Freakier Friday screening because you know what? When you put in the hard work, when you are annoying on the internet and yap about something long enough, things happen. And this is just proof. If you put your mind to something and you talk and are annoying about it for long enough, you never know what's going to happen. And it is crazy to me that like, I feel like in the first episode ever of this podcast, I talked about how excited I was for Freakier Friday. If not the first one, the second or the third one. Like, it was very early on in the stages of this podcast launching a year and a half or a year and change ago. And like, to have Disney see my content, Disney recognize who I am. And like, first they sent me the PR, which I talked to you guys about a few weeks ago. And then I got the invite for the premiere like 2 weeks later. Like, it is just seriously insane. So let's get into it. Actually, before we even get into the premiere, I went to another really cool event yesterday morning. It was at SiriusXM. They were doing like a Freakier Friday town hall. And I got to be like in the fishbowl room with Lindsay, Jamie Lee Curtis, Julia Butter, Sophia Hammond, and Hoda was doing the interview. Like, Hoda was sitting there. It was for Hoda's Today Show radio talk show, whatever it is on Sirius. And I was like in the actual room with them, which was so cool. And it's just so fun. I love a press tour and I love, seeing these people go out and talk about the project they worked on, whether it's an album, whether it's a movie, a TV show. Like, I just get so much, you just get so much more out of, a movie or a project when you kind of dive into the And I mean, that's kind of how Too Pop to Handle came to be. Like, it's something I just do as a hobby. So whenever I get to go to these events, I take it, I don't take it for granted. I know it is such a cool opportunity. So that was really, really fun. Series put on such a cool event. They had like fortune cookies everywhere and like little cutouts of the cast and things like that. They had really cool like custom cookies as well out on the tables for everybody. Like, it was just like a really well done event. That's also something I really appreciate when you go to an event like this and it's actually like well put on and they actually put thought into it. I was talking about the Cynthia Erivo event that I went to last month, I think it was, or 2 months ago now, I think. God, that was a long time ago, it feels like. And that one was like just so well thought out. Even the Miley Cyrus one I went to, like, I've been going to a lot of really cool events and it's really nice when they actually try to make it special and kind of like curated to the artist or the movie or whatever it may be that they're promoting. So kudos to all of the PR teams and all of the, the people behind these events that put them on, because you guys are seriously killing it, or at least the ones that I'm going to. You guys are killing it. So we get to the Disney offices, and I've been there before because my friend Marianne, who actually came to the screening with me, she got tickets through work. I've been to visit her before, and this is where they film like The View and Live with Kelly. So I've been to tapings there and stuff. So I knew where the office was, and I had been there before. So we get to the office, we're hanging out in the little lobby area, and like the Disney influencer manager comes over and is like, "Oh my God, Andrew, I've been watching your content. We're so excited to have you here." And I was like, this is insane. Like, what is my life? And he hands me this little piece of paper with my name written on it in like giant bold font. And when you go to events like this, or, when you see a red carpet or things like that, the publicists of like the talent or the creators usually walk before the talent and hold up the little card with their name on it. And that's how the photographers know who they're photographing. Like, they take the photo of the name and then they take the photo of the people. So they handed that to me, and I looked at Thomas, my boyfriend, and I was like, am I getting a red carpet photo tonight? Like, am I getting my Getty Images debut? And we all were like, no effing way am I about to like walk this carpet. I had no idea. Like, I knew there was going to be a carpet, but I didn't think it was going to be like an actual carpet. I thought they were going to have like a backdrop set up and you could like have somebody take an iPhone photo of you. But like, fully, as soon as I got that, I was like, oh my God, this event is like, I knew it was serious, but I was like, this is like literally a red carpet that I'm about to walk. Like, what is about to happen? So we go into like our little holding area and we wait, whatever. And we go upstairs and they lead us in and fully press set up on this carpet. It was a purple and green carpet, which is just perfect. And just like literally like in a full red carpet experience. They had photographers like all over. They had like press at the end to chat with. It was the most surreal thing. Like, I've never walked a red carpet like that in my life. I've like had my photo taken at events and things like that, but never where like I literally had to give the Disney publicist my name on the little card so they could take the photos of it and then take my pictures. And then I literally got my Getty Images debut at the Freakier Friday premiere. And I don't know what is more Too Pop to Handle coded than that. Like, I have been yapping and campaigning for this movie 4 years before it was even actually conceptualized or like public knowledge. Like, I've been like, we need a Freakier Friday sequel. Like, we need to know what happens to Pink Slip. We need to know what happens with Anna and Tess. Like, we need to know what happens with these people. And like, the story is not over. So the fact that it's finally here and like my first time ever getting a Getty image is at the Freakier Friday premiere is just, it just feels correct. It feels so just so Andrew Nucatola coded. So that was insane. And like Thomas, my boyfriend, was like watching and like recording me on the carpet. But then my friends Marianne and Sammy, who were also at the event, were like across the room doing one of the other photo ops they had. And they were like, holy shit. Like, we were literally watching you on the red carpet, like flashes going off. Like, they were like, pose here, look here, put your chin down, step this way. It was crazy. And I mean, obviously it's little on me. Like, no one's going crazy over me, but like the photographers, I've seen influencers go on a carpet and like literally nobody takes a photo, but these photographers were so welcoming and nice about being like, yeah, like, we don't know who you are and like we don't give a fuck who you are because you're not Lindsay Lohan, but like they made sure everybody on the carpet felt, welcomed and warm and excited. It was like such a perfect, great experience being on a carpet. But anyway, into the movie. So we do the carpet, we do the photo ops, whatever. And then like the cast starts showing up. So we see like Elaine Hendricks, Jamie Lee Curtis, Chad Michael Murray, the whole cast. Of course, the it girl of all it girls shows up. And I am just over the moon, Miss Lindsay Lohan. God, like that's literally Mother. She is the ultimate it girl. And the fact that like I walked the same red carpet as Lindsay Lohan, is something I never thought I would ever say in my life. And I'm going to like print it on a t-shirt, I think. Like walk the same carpet as Lindsay Lohan. I think it needs to be like my new Twitter bio or tagline, because like that is the craziest sentence I have ever said in my life. With that being said, after all of, all the craziness settles down or whatever, take our photos, and they had like other photo ops for us to do. It was really cute. They had a lot of fun little activations. And then we got to watch the cast do their interviews, like I said. And then eventually they usher us into the theater, and we have to go, sit down and take our seats so we can watch the movie, because that is why we're there after all. And the cast comes in, they do a little interview and a speech, and it was just so sweet and heartwarming, because you could really tell that like everybody on that stage who was a part of this movie, it was a labor of love, and they were all just so excited for people to finally be seeing it. And let me tell you, this movie was perfect. It was exactly what we needed in this sequel. And now we are 22 years? Yeah, 22 years after this movie originally came out. Like it has been quite some time, which means there's a lot of room for development in all of these characters, but there's also a lot of room for error. And I think they did such a great job at bringing us up to speed on what's been happening with Tess and Anna and the rest of the Colemans and everyone over the last however many years that, has time jumped, but with still like sticking true to their characters and showing how they've grown and developed, and like, the things that have changed in their lives that have made them who they are today. They just did such a good job making sure they stayed true to their character while also evolving and developing and like showing their growth. And I mean, obviously the first movie when Anna and Tess switch, like the whole point is for them to like get closer and have a stronger bond. And like, honestly, almost instantly as the movie starts, you can tell that they have a totally different relationship, and they are just like, I'm doing spoiler free, so I'm not going to say, but like, there's just such a stronger bond between the two of them. And you can tell that they really appreciate having each other in their lives, which was obviously the whole point of the switch in the first movie. It's cheesy, it's funny, it's heartfelt. Like it's such a feel-good movie, and all the press that they're doing right now, Jamie Lee Curtis keeps saying the reason they wanted to do this movie was, one, because the fans wanted it so bad, but two, because we need a movie that we can just laugh at right now, because there's a lot going on in the world and we just need to laugh in a movie theater again. And one of the big reasons Lindsay was so ready to do it is because she was like, as soon as they promised me a theatrical release, I was like, all right, we're doing it. We are in, because she wanted to bring everybody back to the movie theater. It's just like we got to see it in 2003, because in 2003, we weren't streaming. We weren't seeing things not all together in a theater. And, there was just something special about going to a movie theater together and like laughing at the same scenes with a bunch of random strangers. And I personally love the movies. I know it's kind of, some people, you either love it or you either hate it. I love going to the movies, but this is a movie, just any comedy, I think, is always so much better received in a theater, because again, you get that feeling of like everybody laughing and like experiencing this. It's like a unique experience with strangers. Nobody knows each other in a movie theater, but you're all laughing at the same thing. Or if it's a horror movie, you're jumping at the same thing, and, all kind of going through this movie blindly together. So I thought that was a really cool way for them to explain like why they were so excited to do this, because they really knew that it was going to like bring families together and bring friends to the theaters and things like that. One thing I noticed after I saw the movie is that I understood the switch between Tess and Lily. So Jamie Lee Curtis and Sophia Hammond's character, Lily, is Lindsay Lohan's stepdaughter in the movie. When I was reading the plot and like doing, seeing the interviews and everything, I was reading everything and I knew that they switched, but I didn't quite understand why Tess would be switching with Lily if that's like her step granddaughter. Like, it didn't make sense to me when I was reading it on paper or like hearing it in an interview. But as soon as I watched the movie and like saw what was going on, it makes so much more sense why Tess and Lily switch bodies versus Tess and Harper, which Harper is Lindsay's biological daughter in the movie. And Tess and Lily have this like sweet moment towards the end of the movie. Again, we're doing spoiler free, so I won't say anything. But if you were confused about the plot and wondering like how this all makes sense and fits together, I just trust me, when you watch the movie, you will understand why Anna and Harper have to switch and Tess and Lily have to switch, because it all comes together through the movie. I also thought all the new cast members that they added into this movie killed it. Like, they did such a great job. And coming into this movie where it's a sequel to a movie that is so beloved by not only fans, but also the cast, like Lindsay, Jamie, Chad, like they all love this movie so much. And that's why they all signed on to do a sequel. So to come into a project that is kind of like a coveted thing, you know, and I mean, Lily and Harper, Sophia and Julia's characters are huge parts, literally like one of the main plot lines of the entire movie. So them coming into it and like being able to just fit in with the cast so perfectly, you could tell that they all just hit it off so well. And in all the press, and even at the end of the movie, they play like bloopers while the credits roll. And I just, trust me, stay for the entire credits because the end bloopers are hilarious. But you can just tell how much they all bonded on this movie and like really just everyone, you could tell they just had so much fun filming this movie. And that's the whole point of the movie. It is fun. It is silly. You know, maybe you learn a lesson or maybe you just like appreciate the people in your life more, whatever it may be. Like you can just tell that they all understood the assignment and knocked it out of the park. Also, Manny Jacinto, who plays Lindsay Lohan's husband, was so great in this movie. And also he is so fine. Like I knew he was handsome because I've obviously seen him before and I knew who he was and whatever. But like watching him in the movie, I was like, God damn, if I was Lindsay Lohan, I would fall in love with this man too. Like he is so handsome, but also his acting, like his portrayal of his emotions in the movie and like just kind of like again, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but like just the way that he navigates being a single dad in the movie and like shows his emotions is he just did such a good job. This whole cast seriously knocked it out of the park and just it's exactly what you want in a sequel. Like it was so well done. And like this movie isn't supposed to like change your life or be groundbreaking cinema. You know, I'm not expecting it to get nominated for any awards or anything like that because it's a Disney comedy movie, but it perfectly filled the shoes that it needed to fill, and I am just over the moon. Some final thoughts on it. Pink Slip, the way that they were tied back in was perfectly done. I was kind of curious like how much Pink Slip was going to play into the movie because obviously we knew that Anna was not in the band anymore and the band wasn't together anymore. Like it just wasn't a thing and they all kind of were doing their own things, but we knew that the cast was all in it. So clearly they were all still friends. And you kind of learn a little bit about why Lindsay ended up leaving the band and you know, what's going on there, but it doesn't take away from the main plot line because there's so many side pieces within the plot lines that like it could get really confusing and really just like almost too big of a pill to swallow, if that makes sense. But I just think they sprinkled in the side plot so perfectly and it all kind of came together to just like make this greater plot line, if that makes sense. Again, I don't want to give anything away, so you will get it when you see it. It will make sense and you'll understand what I'm saying. But they did a really great job of kind of like highlighting the whys and answering those questions without going too deep into it because we don't need to know why they left the band or what happened. But like they're all friends. We know everything is good and like you can kind of assume that Pink Slip has some type of reunion based on the trailers, and that is all I will say there. But like I said, you can just tell everybody had so much fun filming this movie and absolutely loved these characters and loved bringing these characters back to life or introducing these new characters into this Freaky Friday world, whatever you want to call it. Seriously, it was just so well done. And like I said, I feel like my entire podcast and content has led me to this moment of getting invited to this premiere. So it is just so crazy that I like get to sit here and give an early review of this movie to you guys more than a week before the movie comes out. And like, it is insane to me. And I feel so thankful and so grateful. And I still like want to pinch myself. I feel like I'm still on a high from last night. And like, I can't believe that I was invited to this event by Disney. And like I said, walk the same carpet as Lindsay Lohan, who was like my mecca it girl of all it girls. Like it is just insane to me. So thank you guys for listening and like supporting my content, whether it's the podcast or my TikToks or my Instagram, like whatever it may be. It is seriously like so crazy to me that I spent my Monday night at the Freakier Friday premiere. And like, I was having this moment on the couch last night when I got home because there was no way I was going to bed right after. I was like way too pumped up on adrenaline. I was like, 8-year-old Andrew would think 30-year-old Andrew is cool as fuck. And it's a really cool thing to feel. And I just really appreciate, you guys listening to me yap every week and listening to me yap about Freakier Friday for all of these fucking months and years and liking the videos and this and that. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to Disney if you happen to be listening to this, or now that he got his invite to Freakier Friday, we're going to throw this kid throw him to the wolves. We're done with this guy. But whither it may be, I am so thankful to have been a part of this movie in any, in any aspect by doing the PR, going to the event. Like, it just means the world. So thank you to Disney. Thank you guys for listening, and go see Freakier Friday in theaters next Friday, August 8th. I promise you, you will love it. And now that I have gotten that out of the way, let's continue on with the show as we always do. And let's kick things off with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week and our new music releases coming up this week. I didn't have anything on my radar last week. Nothing was released or came up that I was like looking out for or waiting for. So nothing to chat about there. So this will be a quick, just looking ahead at what is to come for this week. We do have the Freakier Friday soundtrack coming out this Friday, August 1st. Speaking of Freakier Friday, Lindsay obviously has her new song in the movie. And what I will say about that is she sings it and we hear it in the movie a bunch, but I feel like just being so overstimulated in the movie theater and like at this event, I was listening to it, but I was like, I can't fully digest this song while it's being, played in the movie and like just the excitement of the night. So she sounded great and like it was a very cute song, but I don't have like thoughts on the song yet. I'm going to wait till the album comes out and then we can chat about that next week. But Freakier Friday soundtrack comes out this Friday. We also have Renee Rapp releasing her new album, Bite Me, which I am so excited about. Chappell Roan is dropping The Subway finally after a year and a half of her debuting at a GovBall. That comes out on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We also have Demi Lovato releasing her comeback single, Fast, which is her comeback to pop music. I walk an interesting line with Demi Lovato. I'm not going to get into it, but she's not my cup of tea. She's not my thing usually. However, this song does sound good, and I can admit when pop music is good. I'm not going to just be like, I won't listen to that because it's that artist. Like, I'm not that kind of person. Like, if the song is good, I will listen to it and give it my full, actual review. So I'm curious to see what Demi is cooking. And, she's back in her pop era. She's married. She's like a content creator living in Texas now. She's got a whole new vibe going. And I'm not sitting here being like, I'm going to be a Demi Lovato stan, because it's just like not a ship that there's room for me on, nor do I want to board that ship. But I am very curious to see this new pop era she's bringing back, because last I checked, she like killed her pop era in one of her last albums. Like, I remember, didn't she host like a funeral, or like wasn't the joke that like she killed the pop music version of herself and now she was like a rocker chick? And I'm not going to get into it again. There's no room for me on that boat, nor do I want to be on that boat. But I will be, checking out this song and seeing what Demi is cooking up in that kitchen. And then we also have a new single from Slater coming out, Beat Up Chanel's, which Slater is definitely an artist that isn't for everybody. However, she is for me. She's very like hyper pop, very gay forward kind of music. So I don't know if that's for everybody, but I personally am very excited for new Slater music. So we will chat about all of these releases next week. And that being said, let's get into our moments from the week that were just too pop to handle, some pop culture rapid fire. And I am very happy to report to you guys that Beyoncé does not hate the United States. She just likes to pick favorites. And you know what? I can't blame her for that. I understand, having your favorite cities to tour in and, pulling out some extra fun little surprises and stops for people in the cities that you love. And that being said, the Cowboy Carter Tour has officially come to an end. She wrapped up the tour over the weekend in Vegas, and it honestly feels very symbolic for her to end this tour in Vegas. If you think back, she kicked off the tour in Vegas at the Super Bowl. That's when the original commercial dropped, and she did, drop the music, and then Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages came out, and it was kind of this like catalyst for the entire era to start. There was also the whole, when she announced the tour, and Vegas was on the tour poster, but there were no tour dates, and they came a few months later, a few weeks. I forget how long the wait time was, but there was that weird kind of like delay there. And then all of the drama with the Sphere suing her for this, the visual, and she had to replace it with Allegiant Stadium and that whole drama that came up. So Vegas really did play a big part in Cowboy Carter for this era. So it makes a lot of sense for the tour to end there. And boy, did she end it with a goddamn bang. And not only was this event star-studded as far as like the audience, I mean, Oprah, Gayle, Kris Jenner was there, like Tyler Perry was there. Literally, like all of the stars were pulling up and showing out for Beyoncé at closing night. She also was graced the stage with special guests over the weekend. She had Shabuzi come out and do Sweet Honey Buckin'. Jay-Z came back out and they did their whole number together. And then she did the unthinkable and she brought out Destiny's Child to perform at the closing night of the Cowboy Carter World Tour, which officially means that Vegas won. Vegas won the entire tour. And I know what you're thinking. Weren't you just saying that Miley was the best guest you could possibly get at the Cowboy Carter Tour? Yes. And I still stand by the fact that like I would have done anything to have been in the room when Miley Cyrus and Beyoncé performed Two Most Wanted together. But seeing Destiny's Child performing together at the end of the Cowboy Carter Tour, which is such a symbolic album for Beyonce's entire career, let alone the album that she finally won Album of the Year for, seeing Destiny's Child come out and perform with Beyonce on that stage and then exit the stage together, and as they exit, Blue Ivy comes out. Like watching Beyonce leave the stage with Kelly and Michelle as Blue Ivy ascends from the floor and starts her whole little dance number, it was something. It was like, it's going to be the craziest scene in the Cowboy Carter Tour movie. Like it is going to be so cinematic. And I mean, this performance with Kelly and Michelle was just incredible. They like arise from the floor and Energy is playing. They walk to the stairs and Beyonce goes, "Destiny's Child, bitch." Like the most boss bitch thing you have ever heard in your life. I heard that the next morning and literally was like, oh, this feels like she just like pierced my heart. Like there was some punch behind that bitch. It was crazy. Then they go from Energy into Lose My Breath, back into Energy and do the mute challenge, which they don't do on this tour usually. It is a very special occasion for the Cowboy Carter Tour. And they're doing this. They're doing the mute challenge and Kelly looks into the crowd and goes, "Shut up," because nobody's being quiet because everybody is just screaming so loud for Destiny's Child. And like she laughed after, but like Kelly wasn't kidding. Like Kelly was dead ass like, "Guys, shut the fuck up." And everybody on mute. Like, come on, that is the point of the challenge. But like just hearing the screams when Destiny's Child came out was seriously, I can't even imagine what it sounded like in the actual room. Like the videos online were so loud that I can't even fathom the decibel in which the volume got that night in Allegiant Stadium. It is insane. And then they ended their set with Bootylicious and they exited. And like I said, Blue Ivy came on and did her little dance number. And it was just like so symbolic of everything Beyonce has worked for. I mean, like I said, Cowboy Carter is really bringing her back to her roots of, I mean, growing up in Houston and having such like a deep-rooted connection to country music and like the culture around it, and then kind of being shunned by it when she performed at the Country Music Awards. And, you know, it was kind of how Cowboy Carter came to be and like what sparked this album. Bringing Destiny's Child out for the closing night and just thinking back to like their Houston rodeo performance. I want to say it was like 2001, 2002 when they performed at the Houston Rodeo, which is such a big deal for them because it's the rodeo and it's huge. And like, again, there's just so much culture and history, and just this album is so symbolic of Beyonce's artistry and everything she's worked for. And there's really, some of the lyrics on the album are really so poetic in the sense of like singing about the things that she struggled with. I mean, listen to 16 Carriages and like you learn all about all the things that she's gone through in her life that have been like struggles and whatever. And of course, I mean, it's Beyonce. Her struggles are not as intense as some other people's. You know, she's in a much better position than most people, but she can still struggle. You know, she still has her off days. So just, you know, having this like celebratory moment for the end of this tour was so incredible, and I am so envious of every single person who was in that room. She also added every single exclusive city shirt to the website, which is unlike her. Beyonce likes to be very exclusive with her stuff, and like none of the Renaissance shirts went up on the website after the tour, but like all of the Cowboy Carter ones went up and some new ones. So very interesting to see that she's like kind of kissing this era goodbye by like making everybody kind of included. I guess it is kind of symbolic when you think of it, because this album was all about kind of being included in a group that was so excluding of her. And I mean, yeah, it's just a fucking t-shirt and I'm probably just like pulling shit out of my ass. But like usually Beyonce is so, like I said, exclusive and wants the shirts to be like that exclusive moment for just people who are there. And it kind of makes it more of like a luxury item, quote unquote, in the fandom or whoever owns it. So for everybody to be able to just buy them on the website now, it kind of takes away that exclusivity. But like I said, when you think about this album, it kind of was born out of her being excluded from a larger group. So now somebody who might not have been able to go to a show at all, but wanted the t-shirt can get the shirt. Sometimes when I say things on the mic, I'm like, and I don't think it when I'm typing, but when I say it out loud, I'm like, wow, actually, you know what? Like, it does make sense when you speak it out loud and just yap into a microphone. And like, maybe this is the bigger picture. And maybe she's trying to make it so people understand how she felt. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking too much into it, but it makes sense in my head as I'm saying it now. So if you want any Beyoncé merch, she just added a shit ton of shirts to her website, and they're all very cool. Oh my God. She also made these like sick Destiny's Child shirts. I'm like on the fence of ordering it. I think I'm going to do it because like, it's just so iconic. And I mean like, yeah, I wasn't at the show, but like, I don't care. It's Destiny's Child. And like, Coachella was a huge reunion, as was the Super Bowl, but like this felt so monumental because it wasn't on a stage for the general public. This was for people who bought tickets specifically to see Beyonce, not just Coachella, not just watching the Super Bowl. Like this was at a Beyonce show, and it feels so monumental. So I fear I will be having to add that Destiny's Child shirt to my bag as soon as I'm done recording this episode. And then it kind of leads us to this question of what is next for Beyonce. Obviously, we know that like there is a third act in this project, with Cowboy Carter being act 2, Renaissance being act 1. But what's really interesting is even on stage closing night, she said that she had the Cowboy Carter album and tour ready to go before Renaissance. But as we know, she decided to release Renaissance first just because she was like, these people need to dance and they need to get at the clubs and like have a celebration and celebrate who they are, which changed, the order of these acts. And even like sonically, if you listen to Cowboy Carter and finish it with Amen and then go right into I'm That Girl, the tone at the end like perfectly matches up with when I'm That Girl starts. Like it just sounds like it was supposed to be like almost like a signal for the next album to start. So it's really interesting that she kind of like went out of order with it. But it also is crazy that like Cowboy Carter kind of being so Americana and, so political came at the perfect time with the Trump administration. Oh, I don't mean like saying his name, God. But like he wasn't president when Renaissance came out. So for Cowboy Carter to be so politically charged and so racially charged, like that coming out now, it just feels like such better timing than had it come out in 2022. Yeah. Oh my God. Renaissance came out 3 years ago today, actually. But yeah, like if Cowboy Carter came out 3 years ago and then Renaissance came out last year, of course it would still hit the same way. But like, it just feels like the universe was giving Beyonce a sign to be like, you know what? They'll be ready for the music when they're ready for it. They're going to need it in 3 years when He Who Must Not Be Named is back in office. So save it. Let's, get them to dance first. And then we're going to bring them back to our country roots. So it kind of works out there. But like I said, it kind of leads us to like, what is next? And when are we going to get act 3? And if you look at Renaissance into Cowboy Carter, the last night of the Renaissance World Tour, we got the trailer for the Renaissance movie and the date that night, I believe. If not the date that night, we got it like a few days later. But Cowboy Carter has ended and we don't have a trailer for a movie or anything like that. So is the tour really over? Is the era over? Are we moving on yet? Like, obviously it was just a one act of it with Renaissance and like there's no other pattern to follow, but like even the promo and the press for Cowboy Carter has been so different than Renaissance, with announcing it at the Super Bowl and she did like a meet and greet in Japan, which she never does, and she did the Levi's campaign and like all of this stuff. Like it was just such a different era for Beyonce in a good way. Like she did things that she hasn't done in years and it felt authentic to the album and authentic to her. So who's to say like what is next and what's in store for act 3? Of course, we all are assuming it's going to be rock music, but I'm seeing other theories of it being other types of music. So who knows what is next and when we're going to get it. It was interesting. The lead singer of System of a Down was front row at closing night. And I don't know if it was just like a coincidence, but they posted his photo on the website of him like in the crowd. And obviously System of a Down is a rock band. So I don't know if that's like an Easter egg or it was just like a coincidence if they just like took this photo of him and put it on the website just to like, throw us for a loop or whatever it may be, but very interesting. And I don't know, I'm curious to see like what is next and when we get act 3, even if act 2 is even over. Like who knows if Cowboy Carter is truly done. this woman is crazy. She can literally do whatever she wants, and we all just kind of like eat it up every time. So we will see what is in store for Beyonce, you know, for the next era. But we will have to just wait and see and have Beyonce give us the music when she wants to give us the music. Moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Sydney Sweeney is making quite the headlines this week. If you did not see, she is the new face of American Eagle and specifically their jeans. And the ad is causing a lot of controversy. So the original ad has been pulled from what I can find. I couldn't actually find the original video up on any of their socials or anything, but obviously people repost it from TikTok. So they pulled the original ad that really sparked the issues. And the issue with it is, in said ad, she says, jeans are passed down from parents. And mind you, it's jeans with a G. So not like denim jeans, but jeans like your biological makeup. So she says, genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue. And then it says, Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, in the text on screen, it says jeans, Jeans. But obviously, Sydney Sweeney is referring to a play on words and saying, my genes, Genes, are blue. And they look at her blue eyes in the thing. But then they're going back to the jeans. So, you know, it's a play on word, and it is a very clever play on words. I will say, like, just taking everything out of it, don't jump down my throat yet, we're getting there. It's a very clever play on words. Like, it is very smart and like a great campaign. However, when you look at Sydney Sweeney, and she is blonde hair, blue eyes, beautiful little white girl, and they are pushing this as, you know, Sydney Sweeney has great genes, blonde hair, blue eyes are great genes. It's definitely a little tone deaf, I will say, to be promoting this idealistic blonde hair, blue eyes image, especially in today's climate with everything going on in the world. Now, do I think Sydney Sweeney is pushing this, I'm just going to say it, Nazi agenda of like blonde hair, blue eyes with this ad? No. And I don't think American Eagle was trying to be subliminal about it, but that does not mean it is not tone deaf and needed to be reviewed at least 2 more times. Like it just is so out of touch to not see the issues in promoting this, you know, this idealistic image for somebody, especially looking at Sydney Sweeney and how she looks and her genes, Genes, being blonde hair, blue eyes, white girl. You know, it's definitely teetering the line of some history repeating itself. I do wonder if, I wonder 2 things. Number 1, how many non-white people looked at this ad campaign before it went live? Like, how many Black people, how many Asian people, how many Hispanic people were in the room during the approval process for this ad to give it the green light? Because I'm going to go ahead and say not enough, because I just don't see this ad getting pushed out and approved without a few, you know, some people being like, hey, maybe we don't push this idealistic image, you know, like maybe this isn't the right time or the right messaging to push. Even like I walked past the American Eagle store in Times Square today on my way home from work, and the entire window display is literally in giant bold font says Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Like, this campaign is more than just a social media campaign. This is in every single one of their stores. So a campaign this big getting pushed and getting the backlash that it is receiving, I just feel like if they would have taken a step back and like, I just think if they would have taken a second and thought about this ad and like use, like I said, the genes, the play on word is genius. It's a really genius. It's a really great marketing idea, but I just think they should have reserved it and saved it for a campaign with, you know, showing a bunch of different people, showing people of all different races in this and saying blank has great genes, blank has great genes, and showing, you know, a Black person, showing a white person, but also showing an Asian person or a Hispanic person, or, you know, just cover, like showing all different types of races and saying blank has great genes, not even celebrities, just like a regular model, whoever it may be. I think this could have been such a smart campaign if they just took a step back and used some critical thinking. And then number 2, the other thing I'm thinking is like, I don't think this ad would have been such a big deal had they done that. Like, had they gone and made this ad about everybody's jeans being great. And of course, the bigger picture is them trying to sell denim jeans, not not selling this idealistic vision of a person. And, you have to have blonde hair, blue eyes, and be white. Like, I think like if they would have done a campaign with a full rounded, cast of colors in this campaign, it would have been perfect. But they just fucked up so bad with this campaign. And it's bad. Like it's bad. And again, I just wonder like how many people saw this and said yes to it and didn't see anything wrong with pushing this idealistic body image or racial, identity to the public and saying like she had great genes and we're pushing her blue hair or her blue hair. Yeah, I wish she had blue hair. It would make it a whole lot easier for them to graze this over. But her blue eyes and her blonde hair, like it just like, guys, come on. Like you're a huge multi-million-dollar brand. They've got to be like, we've got to put our thinking caps on and think a little bit better when we're doing a campaign, especially when it's Sydney Sweeney, who already was kind of getting some flack because she threw that like country western themed party a few months ago for somebody in her family. Maybe it was a year ago at this point. And she was already kind of under fire for that and like whatever. It's just like, we need to be thinking in these meetings a little bit harder instead of just being like, oh, she's a pretty blonde person. Let's put her in our jeans and like, let's run with it because everyone's going to love it because she's Sydney Sweeney. Backfired on you guys. Backfired so hard. And like what sucks is like when I first saw the campaign, I just saw like the still images, either the still image or just like a video of Sydney Sweeney in the jeans. I never actually saw this original video posted anywhere. I just saw like Sydney Sweeney was the face of American Eagle jeans. And I was like, oh my God, she looks great. This is a great campaign. It was the image of her with the car is what I saw first. And I was like, oh my God, loved it. Like, this is great. She looks great. What a fun partnership. And then I started seeing like headlines about it. And I was like, what is everybody up in arms about Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle? And then I found out that they pulled the first half of the campaign. And I was like, oh, there it is. Like they shot themselves in the foot. It's just like, it could have been so good. And it just wasn't. I cannot. Moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Harry Styles appears to be everywhere but the studio these days. Earlier this week, his lifestyle brand Pleasing announced they would be taking a new endeavor and diving into some new waters for the brand, and they would be releasing a Pleasing Yourself line that included a Pleasing double-sided vibrator and the Pleasing lube. And now, to me, this makes sense when you think about A, Harry Styles' music, and B, Pleasing as a brand. It started as a nail polish brand, and then he started dabbling in some like fragrances. They've always had kind of like apparel like counterpart to it as well. So every line they put out a new sweatshirt or a new beach bag or whatever it may be, it's very much a lifestyle brand. And with a lifestyle brand, you have to evolve and kind of have to find what's next and kind of find that next stepping stone. And to me, when your brand is called Pleasing, it's just kind of a natural progression to like go into pleasure and find new ways to please yourself and please your audience. But I was seeing so many people like genuinely shocked over the fact that Harry Styles was diving into pleasure toys and sex toys and lube and things like that, when to me, I'm like, this really feels like a natural progression. Not only, like I said, because the company is called Pleasing. Have we listened to Harry Styles' music? Do you know what Watermelon Sugar is about? Like, has anybody actually taken the time to listen to Harry Styles' music, or are we just liking his music because he's fun to look at? Like, if you really listen to Harry Styles' music, there's kind of this like sexual majority of his music. And like I said, what did you think he was singing about in Watermelon Sugar when he says, tastes like strawberries on a summer evening? Do you think he was talking about a fucking acai bowl? Like, is everyone just kind of missing the punchline of Harry Styles being a freak? And like, like this just, it makes sense to me. So when I saw people being like so shocked online about this, I was like, where have you been? Like, what are you missing that I'm so in tune with, like, and it makes me think, like, do people just like Harry Styles because he's Harry Styles, or are we actually listening to the music and understanding what he's singing about? To me, I truly was like, this makes so much sense. And I thought it was a genius idea. And honestly, so did everybody else because the entire line sold out already. But like, to the people who didn't get it and didn't understand it, and there was a lot of people who were so confused about this. Like, to me, the only thing to really be confused about is like, why are we spending time making all of these lifestyle things and not making an album? Like, I want Harry Styles back in the studio. I love the idea of him, playing around with different lifestyle brands and doing new things. But like, where is the album, Harry? That's what I want to know. But like, if you need to do this in the middle so you can like, fund your vacations and fund whatever, like looking hot in England on your bike, doing your thing, like that's also fine. But like, give us some type of proof that you are in the studio and like giving us some kind of breadcrumbs for HS4 because I'm ready for a new album. And like, I love the idea of like, going into this sexual pleasure idea. And, I'm all about sex positivity and I'm fully behind it. However, release the vibrators, but also give us a teaser. Maybe, the teaser, you get the first beat in the sound of the vibrator or something. Like, I don't know what it is, but, I need some sign of life that you are in the studio and going to be releasing music alongside the vibrator. That's all I'm saying. Moving on to the next and final moment of the week that was just too pop to handle before we get into our TV recap. This is actually the Kenny and JaNa breakup. So let's take a second. Let's head to Instagram and see if anything has happened. Okay, Delaney hasn't sent me anything. I'm checking my sources. No new update. So maybe I paused at a really good time earlier. JaNa has nothing new. Yeah, no, okay, I think we are all up to speed. The last thing I'm seeing is Liv, so let's get into it. All right, so Kenny and JaNa from Love Island USA Season 6 have broken up. This news kind of started swirling around over the weekend, and they were together on their way to David Dobrik's party, which, like, if you're going to David Dobrik's party willingly in the year 2025, I fear there is going to be disaster at the end. Like, anyone who comes into contact with David Dobrik, I just feel like something bad's going to happen, especially after all of these years. But that being said, they posted on Instagram that they were together Friday or Saturday night. I don't remember the exact day, but they posted together. And then the next day, reports of them being broken up came out. JaNa removed him from her bio. Kenny removed JaNa from the bio. JaNa removed every single post of him on her Instagram other than branded content. And then all of PPG, including their boyfriends, unfollowed Kenny. So that was like the big, like, whoa, everybody's unfollowing him. This is crazy, especially when we consider that we're watching Love Island Beyond the Villa right now and seeing the way that PPG and the boyfriends all kind of exist as this unit together. In the first episode, they were saying when one of them is not there, it feels incomplete. So they clearly have kept this closeness over the last year and change. And seeing all of them unfollow him was like, oh my God, some shit went down. So these rumors came out that he had cheated and the girl approached them at David's party, and that was what blew up. And then a source came out and said that wasn't the case. There was no big blow up. They ended and they're not getting back together. And then the entire rest of the cast unfollowed him, including Ariana Madix, the host of the show, which, if that's not giving you a telltale sign of like who's in the wrong here, I don't know what is. And that was kind of all we had up until today. So they were quiet. They weren't posting anything. Like I said, they removed each other from their bios. They took down all the posts. And then today, Tuesday, around 5 p.m., JaNa posted a statement on her Instagram story. It was a black screen, white text. I'm sure you've seen it, but I'll read it for everybody who has not. It said, "Hi, my loves. Thank you for all your love and support. It means the world to me. As you know, Kenny and I are no longer together. Please know that I have seen all the breakup theories and none have matched up to how terrible, disgusting, and disappointing it truly is. Discovering that someone you loved isn't who you thought they were and that the relationship you thought you were building hasn't been genuine since day one has been truly devastating. Thank you for respecting my privacy, and please know, as a child of God, I will always be okay." And JaNa getting on Instagram and saying that the theories that we are seeing have not matched up to how terrible, disgusting, and disappointing it is. I mean, the theories that were really coming out is that he cheated. That was the big one that was going around. And like, to me, cheating is like the biggest thing that can happen in a relationship. Yeah, I would say cheating is like the biggest fuck up you can have in a relationship. You can repair things in a relationship for the most part. Otherwise, it's I'm not going to say for every relationship, but obviously depending on the case. But like for the most part, cheating is like the big thing, at least to me, where I'm like, that is like, absolutely not. So for her to say that like the theories that are coming out aren't matching up how disgusting it is, I'm like, holy shit, what did he do? And then I'm like, and the fact that like everybody unfollowed him, it must be like some like really, not even like on a relationship level, just as like a human being coming out and proving that you were just like not a good person. So then a little while later, Kenny posts on his Instagram, "The past few days have been incredibly difficult. I've been quietly sitting with a lot of emotions and doing my best to process everything privately. Breakups are never easy, especially in the public eye. Sometimes, despite how deeply you care for someone, you come to the hard truth that the relationship that was not something that could last long term. I'll always be grateful for the time we shared together and the memories we created. I released this chapter with no ill will, only a hope that JaNa's path forward brings her nothing but happiness." And then within minutes, JaNa posts, "At Kenny Rodriguez, shut the fuck up, you manipulative liar. You not taking accountability and telling people the type of person you really are is insane to me. My first statement was me being nice. Do not piss me off." So for JaNa, and I mean, in that first statement, she was very nice. And like she said, it was disgusting what he did. And, we're done and I will be okay, but we are done and I'm disgusted with this person. For Kenny to go on and then try to like cushion that and almost act like, hey, I'm wishing her well, you were going to handle it, whatever. Like, and JaNa to come back and say, shut the fuck up, you manipulative liar. Do not piss me off. Oh, it's bad. Like, it is bad. And I love JaNa down. If you listen to my episodes from last year when I was recapping Love Island, JaNa was my number one in the villa the entire season, and she is still my favorite from the season. I love her spirit. I love her attitude. I love her personality. I love everything about JaNa. So seeing this come out, I'm like, get the daggers ready. We are all going after Kenny, and the entire internet is going after this man. And not only the internet, but as is the rest of his cast members. So JaNa posts that in response, and Leah comments on his page on a reel of him and Miguel and says, "Delete my man off your page, you clout demon." Then she posts a story and tags Kenny and says, "Put a sock in it, ChatGPT head ass. Tell the truth for once. Racist, clout and money hungry, and a scammer since day one. Trying to make it seem like it's nothing it's not. Don't worry, Arnay is blessed and highly favored." And like Leah has... We've seen Leah in action on Love Island. We've seen, now you're sending two home. Like, we've seen Leah go crazy on Love Island and like have her moment. So for Leah to go on and tag him in this and like put her 2 cents in, I'm like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is, it's just like whatever happened has to be astronomically showing of his character. I mean, right there, racist, clout hungry, money hungry, and a scammer since day one. Then Kenny deletes her comment, and then Leah goes back and comments something else kind of along the same lines, but just a little bit meaner the next time. And then Liv chimes in, and Liv is the one, if you think back to Love Island season 6, Liv never really found her footing in a relationship. However, she was the definition of a girl's girl in that villa. She was the one going after Aaron at the reunion and yelling at him for everything he did to Kaylor. She was the one everybody was crying to every night, and she was checking on everyone, making sure everybody was good. And I just think Liv has a beast inside of her that none of us truly know. And her getting on Instagram and commenting on this, I'm like, oh, it's done. Like, Liv is about to go apeshit, and the rest of these girls are about to tear him to shreds. Liv chimes in and says, "Your pathetic excuse for a story is laughable. I can't even put into words how good of a person Nene is and how hard it is to watch her go through something like this. At Kenny Rodriguez, I hope this gives you the clout you always wanted, you fucking loser." So at the same time as that coming out, Dumois posts a blind item, and I don't like to bring Dumois to the podcast because I don't really like to follow blind items, but they posted it, and now things are starting to line up, and things that we're seeing people, comments from the other day that were since deleted on posts about it are now making a lot more sense. And Dumois said that allegedly the tea on the breakup is that she found texts on Kenny's phone about his plan to stay with her for business and clout, as well as texts with friends calling her racist names that align with both Leah and Serena's statement, calling him a clout chaser and a racist. Now, I didn't see Serena's comment or statement. I saw one, but I think it was photoshopped because I couldn't find the actual comment when I went to, it was on JaNa's story, I believe. I could be wrong. Again, this has all happened in the last like two and a half hours. There's been a lot going on, but everybody keeps saying he's a clout chaser. Racism is being thrown around, and now what's being spread is that there were texts in his phone in a group chat with his friend calling her the N-word. Okay, I'm in the middle of editing right now, but we just got a crazy update on Instagram. JaNa's best friend posted, "My advice for women in relationships is if you have access, go through your man's phone today. Search keywords like I don't like black women. I thought I would get more money from this. I'm faking this relationship. Going on the show would be for clout. I can't wait to be done with this so I can fuck hella bitches. You'll thank me later. P.S. You'll thank me later. P.S. Never spare a man. Dog them out, baby girl." And then she also posted, "I don't play about JaNa." This is getting so messy, and this just felt so important to add into the episode before I go in to the further rest of the story. So let's get back into the episode. Which is, like I said, in a relationship, cheating is such an end thing. But as a human being, using a racial slur in any capacity, whether you're describing somebody that you think is shit on the bottom of your shoe, or in this situation, your girlfriend of a year and change, there's just no reason to ever bring a slur into any conversation, whether or not it is somebody you love or hate. And the fact that like that's what's being thrown around, and again, especially in today's climate, it's just so vile and disgusting to me. And I loved Kenny and JaNa together. Like, I thought they were so cute. I thought they were so fine. Love JaNa, Kenny. Like, I thought it was so cute, and I truly love them as a couple. Now, I don't even want to think about this man. I don't want to see his name. I don't want to see his face. I don't want to hear about him. I am so disgusted in whatever is going down. And this might sound parasocial, and I don't really care. When you watch Love Island and you're watching 3 months of somebody on your TV for 5-6 nights a week, yeah, you do, you get a little more protective of the people. And if Kenny is sitting there saying these slurs and calling people this, and I mean, looking at PPG, Serena and Cordell, like using these slurs, maybe he is using them just to talk about JaNa, but that is a word that cuts so incredibly deep to anybody that is black, because it's just so much hate behind it. And for him to be so close with these people and talking about them behind their back this way, it's just such a huge show of character. And like I said, when it was in the relationship, I was like, what's the worst thing he could do when it's cheating? Which is what led me to being like, no, this is a show of his character and who he is at his core. And this is so wild. And especially, like I was saying, watching Beyond the Villa airing right now, it's like we're seeing their relationship. And there was this narrative of like Kenny and JaNa having these issues of not wanting to live together and whatever it may be. So I don't, you can only see so much, especially on social media. Like, you never know exactly what people are going through and if a relationship is as strong as it seems, and especially on reality TV and this and that, you guys know the drill. However, now I'm curious how Love Island Beyond the Villa is going to pan out for the rest of the season, because like, are they going to keep Kenny and JaNa's scenes in, or are we going to see them cut Kenny's scenes out because of what is going on? Like, they sent Ciara and Yulissa home for using racist slurs on this season of Love Island USA. Are they going to cut Kenny out and not give him the airtime for the rest of the season now? I'm very curious, because if it was just like a cheating scandal, not that it makes it okay, but like, it's like, okay, hey, this sucks, but it's not... Not that cheating isn't a judge of character, but like, it's not something that is so offensive to like a greater group. This might be shooting myself in the foot, like saying this. I don't mean it in a way that like cheating is okay ever, but like when you look at cutting somebody out of a reality competition for cheating on their partner versus using a racial slur, it's kind of two different extremes is what I'm trying to say. And I apologize if I'm offending anybody, and I'm not trying to, go in those muddy waters. However, I'm curious how Peacock's going to go about having him in the rest of the season, and if he's going to appear in the season, which in return means we might not see more of JaNa. But JaNa, I feel like JaNa is going to be just fine, because whenever there's like a villain in the relationship and it's like in the public like this, like look at Ariana. Ariana had her whole scandal with Scandival and whatever. And now she's hosting Love Island, is on Broadway, and is getting all these opportunities. So seeing that kind of, rallying behind these people and knowing that JaNa is already so loved and everyone's already on her side. I'm like, she's going to be just fine. We're going to see plenty of her. Like, we don't have to worry about that. But I am curious how Beyond the Villa pans out for the rest of the season. That being said, let's talk about Love Island Beyond the Villa in our TV recap. Honestly, not much to say this week. We're still seeing Liv and Kaylor, and this episode opened up with JaNa talking to the two of them at that little like round table she put together that we saw last week, and now it continues to this one. My only gripe is that they like make up at the table, they hug, they kumbaya, Hakuna Matata, means no worries, Kaylor and Liv are good. But then in her confessional, Kaylor goes, I can forgive her, but I'm still hurt, which is exactly what got them in this position to begin with. So I'm like, okay, so we're not done with this storyline. And I told you guys, I can't with this storyline. I cannot hear them fight about this camera or this party for another episode. And they didn't do with the rest. They were fine the rest of the episode, and maybe they are going to put it in their path, but I'm just saying, if this is the continued narrative, and now with Kenny potentially getting edited out, it might be the bigger narrative in the season still. It's gonna be a hard watch, I will say. But in Kaylor's defense, Kendall is messy as hell, inviting Caleb, what is the guy's name? Inviting the guy to Liv's party, knowing that Kaylor and Liv are on thin ice. And if this guy is there after the dinner that you were at with him the night before, you know that Kaylor, one of your best friends, so you say, is going to be hurt. Like, Kendall just seems so willing to do it for the plot, to like, you know, invite the guy and then like make Kaylor feel better about it later, or like, I was just trying to get you guys back together, or like whatever it may be. Like Kendall, just something about him screams clout chasing in a way, if that makes sense. And again, of course, I don't know him, and this is all just based on what we see on TV, but like, this is what you're letting the world see, so that is on you, my dude. Some positives from this show: Miguel just seems like the greatest guy. The way that he is so there for Leah and so willing to like learn how to ride horses, and now he wants to have a farm with her, and like is so there for her through these procedures that she's about to start going through. Like, he just seems like he really found love. They both did. Like, they just found a true connection within each other, and watching their relationship blossom into what it has blossomed feels so cool to see, you know, because we watched them on the show last year, and now like seeing that they really are kind of getting intertwined into each other's lives. I'm really loving seeing the two of them more, as well as Serena and Cordell, though I do feel for Serena that Cordell is away so much, but it is really cool to see Cordell going into this acting gig. You know, he's really trying to pursue his dreams, and I think it seems that they have an understanding. Of course, it sucks and like it hurts for Serena to not have him around as much as she would like to, but like, this is for the greater good for his career. So it's nice to see that though she is upset and like misses him, she understands and like is willing to try to meet the cat, even though it didn't go well. Like, you know, they're finding the compromise and how they're going to like make things work. So I think seeing those two couples and like really shining on this is really like the silver lining of it. And then ending it with Kaylor and Aaron having that like heart to heart. We can't go down this road again, you guys. Like, we cannot go down the Kaylor and Aaron road again. I cannot do it, and I will not do it. Like, I don't think it's going to happen, because we would know by now, because social media obviously is in more real time than what we're seeing on TV. I don't think they are, but like, I don't want to live in a world where Kaylor and Aaron are together. I will say it. I'm sorry. We watched last season the ringer that he put her through. The Casa Amor drama was so... he acted so outlandish and so immature about it. And even like telling her all those things that happened at the reunion for the first time at the reunion, just to like break her heart on camera again. Like, that is such a big show of his character to me. And like, after that, I already was off the Aaron ship, but like that, I was like, I'm not even gonna consider boarding this ship again, because I want nothing to do with this man. So like, seeing them try to like paint him in this like redemption arc, I am not behind it. And I really hope Kaylor has some sense in her brain to like not get back together with him, because like that just seems like a recipe for disaster. And that being said, that's where we're at with Love Island Beyond the Villa. I feel like the big thing this week about Love Island is obviously Kenny and JaNa. So like the recap is great, but like I need more about what's going on with Kenny and JaNa because this is fucking crazy. And that being said, that means we have made it to the end of our episode, but you know we are not done yet. We still have my yes and my mess because we end every single week with something I am loving and something I am not loving, and we always start on a high note. And this week, my yes is Kesha's Tits Out tour. I went last week, Wednesday night, I believe it was, at Madison Square Garden. My boyfriend and I got tickets literally at 7 p.m. The show started at 7 and we bought the tickets at 7 and we're out the door by like 7:08. We literally ran. I will say I missed the Venga Boys, which broke my heart because that was one of the biggest selling points of going to the show. Of course, I love Kesha and I was excited to see the Scissor Sisters, but like I really wanted to see the Venga Boys, so it did suck that we missed them. However, Kesha's set was incredible. I've seen Kesha live a handful of times and every time she's so great, but seeing her with this newfound freedom and like love for performing and love for her music and the way that she reproduced her music to like make it her own, because she doesn't own any of her old music, if you didn't know. It was just such a celebratory night, and like watching her stand up on that stage, she got like a 15-minute standing ovation from everyone. Like it was some of the loudest applause I have ever heard, and it just felt like such a celebratory night. And I'm sure it's like that at every tour stop, but like Kesha selling out the Garden, her like being in New York, and like she's always said how much she loves this city, and she just like watching her live her dream on that stage as a free woman. It was such a different energy than the Keshas that I've seen before, and she always puts on a great show, don't get me wrong, but like this was such a different feeling, and I seriously had the time of my life. If the Tits Out tour is coming to you anywhere near you, even if you have to travel a little bit, trust me, it is worth it. It was such a great show. The dancers, the lights, Kesha's like the reproduction, like I said, of her music, like everything about it was just so well done. And then add on the new freedom that she has and this new like lease on life that she's gotten. It was seriously such a fantastic show. I had the time of my life. And keeping things on the idea of concerts, switching over to my mess of the week, somebody who is no stranger to my mess of the week category, Justin Timberlake. Remember that DUI that he got last year when he was so worried about ruining the tour? Baby, the DUI is not ruining the tour. You are ruining the tour. These videos came out of this show. I believe he was in Dublin and he was singing Can't Stop the Feeling. And he literally holds the mic to his hand and goes, I got this feeling. And then pointed to the audience, which is normal, you know, call and response. And then it turned into karaoke because this man didn't put the mic back to his mouth, I don't think, for the entire rest of the song. And I'm seeing other people complaining that like he's doing like 2 songs and leaving the stage for a break and then coming back and doing 2 songs and leaving again. And like clearly he doesn't have the chops to perform the way that he used to, which is totally fine. I'm not here to be like, he can't perform because blah, 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 whatever it is. My issue with Justin Timberlake, one of my many issues with Justin Timberlake, because I am the president of the I Hate Justin Timberlake fan club, is the fact that like you had the opportunity to have an NSYNC reunion tour so many times, and you let your ego get in the way so many times, just like so many other things that you have done that you've let your ego win and had to be, you know, the bigger dick competition and whatever it is. And like now it's biting him in the ass because his shows look like trash because he can't keep up performing like he used to. And Justin Timberlake is a great performer. I will give him that. He is a fantastic, or was a fantastic live performer. There is no denying that. However, with age, it doesn't always keep up. You know, things get, you need a fine tune, you need an oil change here and there. And I just think if he would have taken this tour and done like an NSYNC reunion, or maybe, I don't know, done something different, it wouldn't be backfiring so much. But like, I just love the fact that he was so worried about this tour getting ruined by the negative press that he was getting, as if he hasn't gotten negative press his entire life. I mean, Justin Timberlake he's always like, people like love him, but like he's kind of always been at the center of like some controversies or drama. I mean, ripping off Janet Jackson's thing at the Super Bowl, all this shit with Britney. Like, he's not the best guy ever. He just, people think he's cute and good looking and he gets the pass because people love him because of the nostalgia, which whatever. But like now it's catching up and people are pissed at his shows and he can't perform the way that he used to. And I just love to see the way that his ego is finally eating him alive. And that being said, we have made it to the end of this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of Too Pop to Handle. If you liked what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast, go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. It is the best way to help support the show. And let me remind you, it costs $0.00 to leave a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit subscribe down below. Give me a big thumbs up, drop a comment. There's a lot of buttons that you can press on YouTube. I suggest pressing them all except for dislike, but that's just me. If you would like some extra moments from the week that were just too pop to handle in between podcast episodes, head over to toopoptohandle.substack.com and subscribe to my weekly newsletter Popping In, where I send you extra moments from the week that were just too pop to handle in between podcast episodes. If you would like to follow me on my social media, I am at Andrew Nucatola or at Too Pop to Handle across all platforms. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.